Hey, this is John, and this is a look at the new Canon RF 70 to 200 f2.8L IS USM Z lens compared with the older Canon RF 70 to 200 f2.8L IS USM lens. That may sound a bit confusing, but there are significant differences between the new lens and the old one. The new lens has an internal zoom, a declicked aperture, and a much more dampened focus ring, all of which make it a much better tool for video use. We were watching a focus tracking test with the new lens. Now we turn to the older lens, and what you're going to see as I move about the frame, especially when I move forward and back, is that the old lens has a much harder time holding focus, especially between that near point and that far point. It tends to lose it in the middle section. Next up, I'm testing each lens to see if they are parfocal, and what you'll find is that they essentially are parfocal. And while that's the same between the two lenses, what you do want to keep your eye on is how smoothly I'm able to zoom in and zoom out during the test. It's that physical action that really gets that important difference between these two lenses and what makes the new lens so much better suited for filmmaking. It's that you can easily manually zoom this new lens. I mean, the lens, you can get a servo for it, but you can actually easily manually zoom it, where the old lens, that action that also has to extend the barrel, is fine for stills, but it really does not work well at all for filmmaking. What's been playing in the background are side-by-side tests of the new lens and the old lens, looking at lens breathing. They're both very similar. They both have limited breathing. A lot depends on how far your focus pull is going to be. And while that first set of tests was using autofocus, what we're seeing now, I'm focusing manually, racking from the corner post to the houses in the background and back and forth. And again, this is much easier to do with the new lens because the focus ring on it is much better dampened for manual focus. It's also a bigger ring, and it's further out towards the end of the barrel where it should be, whereas on the old lens, the focus ring is very thin and very close to the lens mount. Next up is another side-by-side test. It is handheld, both lenses at 70mm f2.8, and I am moving from that deck railing sort of across the backyards and over to an adjacent house a few houses over, and then back. The IS is on both lenses, as well as on the C80 camera body. What I find is that the IS on the new lens is a bit smoother, and if you stop for a second and pause, you'll see that that new lens has a good deal more clarity. Some additional points I want to touch on is that the new lens compared to the old lens is sharper overall, has less chromatic aberration, as you've seen here, has better autofocus, and I think, as I've shown here, it is far easier to operate for video than the old lens. And I'll also note that the new lens is compatible with Canon's RF tele-extenders, something the old lens could not do. I will leave you here with the spring snow falling in Maine, and just note that this particular shot was shot at 183mm handheld. Lens IS was on, and the digital IS in the camera body, set on standard with motion vector, was also on, and it just looks kind of wild and great. Thanks for watching.